and stuff.
Can I just express, say for example, if that is the case, wouldn't too many cooks spoil the broth? Because it's not that I'm for or not for, it's just for me to understand. Imagine 300 people. Same thing, these are the struggles that big companies also have. When you need to have an approval, it goes through 7-8 heads, which again, it takes a lot of time. And you see, when you make certain decisions, be it a country, be it a company, it needs to, it's always the essence of time. So when you have so many people part of that decision making, one, are they qualified? Because again, it's a randomizer, isn't it? Just so that I understand it properly.
Absolutely.
So how would we know that the decisions are made by the right kind of people?
That's a very good question. We talk about there's this concept, and I'm not going to go in detail, but it's interesting that you bring that up. They're called DAOs, and that's what I'm building as well. DAO,
Okay.
Decentralized Autonomous Organization. It's a very utopian way of kind of running a company in a decentralized way. We are still learning. We're still, because it's a very new concept, but it kind of works on the model of how companies would run, where everyone gets to decide and stuff. I just wanted to park that because it kind of brings into question what you were saying and stuff. So when you're saying that a lot of times when you have approvals of 15 people, decisions take longer, or there's a lack of efficiency. Now, is the problem the structure, or is the problem having 15 people involved? I think that's something that we need to talk about, because a lot of times we say that this process is inefficient, but it's not that it's inefficient because there are 15 people involved in it. Is because of the structure that it has been made in. That I approve something, then you approve, then someone else approves and stuff.
Right.
But if we create how a consensus model works, how a blockchain model works, is that everyone gets to decide. So there are certain decisions even in our DAO that are done on the blockchain. Okay, there's a time limit on it, and everyone gets to vote on it and stuff. So there's a specific time. People come, and there's no hierarchy in it and stuff. If you have, and I'm not going to go into detail, some people have more votes, some people have less votes and stuff. But again, that depends how you structure it. In a decentralized way, everyone should be able to have as many votes as they want, backed by whether if they put in more money, they have a bigger stake in the company, things like that. But we can create a structure that makes all of this efficient and stuff. Now, the second part of your question was, how do you know if the right people are making the decision and stuff? This is definitely a big aspect of running a DAO or doing any decision making that involves a lot of people, because the concept of voting has the same issues in political systems. Then you have, let's say, even in DAOs, right? It's two things. It's exactly what you said. That we don't know if the people who are voting have the right information to vote, and people might not end up showing up to vote, right? That's what happens in political systems as well and stuff. These two things exist, and we are still, because we are still in such an infancy, that we are trying to figure out that instead of just stopping our future models, that okay, these systems don't work, or these voting systems don't work because of people are not educated, that instead of negating this idea, that what if we focused on building platforms or technologies where we actually make sure that people are educated, that we actually make sure people are incentivized to come and vote. The way the DAO system works is, so when you work even in like tech companies today, in startup tech companies, you are given equity in the company. You're given some sort of like stock or in the company that kind of incentivizes you to kind of work harder or look for the broader vision. That's why a lot of startup companies do that. Imagine that coupled with you voting as well, right? So now not only, and the reason why, at least in theory, this is a great way to run companies or see how the blockchain model works, is because now if I have equity in the company, right, and I'm also part of the decision making, I'm not just going to look out for myself. In companies, what happens is, oh, I want to outshine my other colleague, I want to outshine my boss or whatever and stuff. But when the success of your equity and your voting rights is going to be the success of the company, that in turn is going to bring you more money or name or whatever and stuff, then you all are kind of working on a broader vision and stuff. It's an interesting model to look at, because we are still in its infancy. And like I was mentioning earlier, just like how we have a lot of problems that are exclusive to centralized companies or centralized organization or financial institutions, we will have and we are having a lot of issues in decentralization. But that's because we are trying to do something that has never been done in human history. And so, for example, like what Web 2 did is made people's lives easier, right? You can go on Amazon, you can click 3 buttons and you can buy something. You can click 2 buttons on Netflix and start watching like a movie or a TV show. What happens when you have a model that's made people's lives easier? That people have stopped educating themselves, right? I would rather get someone else to do the work, or or pay for a service to do the work without having me do the entire work and stuff, right? And that makes sense. There's so much to do. People can't be educated and stuff, and that's a big challenge because we are in decentralization. We are actually saying that we want you. So when we are talking about crypto, we are saying in decentralization that you should be your own bank. You should be on your security. You should be your lawyer. You should do all these aspects. However, in a normal bank, if you have an issue, you can just call them and ask them to fix it and stuff, right? So in theory, you're like, why are we moving to this model? The problem is all these models are very easily, you can be exploited by them. And that is happening over and over again and stuff.
The centralized one.
The centralized one, you have like, when there are like war zones or like countries that are going through conflict and stuff, like, your financial institutions shut down. You aren't able to extract money from these ecosystems. Let's say you and we do a transaction. Okay, let's say you live in Australia, I live in Dubai. We are doing a transaction in our currency. Why is our currency connected to the US dollar? Why is the value of our currency connected to the US dollar? And that tomorrow, if US decides to take certain decisions or whatever, good or bad, that if it affects our currency, why does it affect the amount of blood, sweat, and tears you and I we've put into work? What we are saying that the idea of cryptocurrency is because we want to turn it into a decentralized manner. In the future, we don't want these financial institutions. We don't want governments. We don't want global affairs. We don't want pandemics to kind of affect currency. That is why we're building crypto.